I'll throw to our wonderful panellists to introduce themselves and talk about the companies that they are building and really the origin stories that sit behind it.
Absolutely. Shan, do you want to go first?
Sure, why not?
Why not?
So, my name is Shan. I am the CEO and founder at Rome Technologies. We're really developing a novel medical device where patients that have trouble breathing can truly unlock medical-grade oxygen at the palm of their hands. I was told not to drag an oxygen cylinder onto stage. In fact, it's actually sitting over there, and that's actually what they're using right now. We believe this technology will replace oxygen cylinders themselves. Why store oxygen when you can generate it at the palm of your hands? And that's what we've been trying to do. Ali?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Ali Fatih. I'm founder and CTO of Tetratherix. In Tetratherix, the core of what we do is essentially a unique biomaterial platform that I invented during my PhD at City University, talking about value of death around 10 years ago. What this sort of like a biofunctional polymer plastic does is it's liquid in room temperature, so it can be easily, precisely delivered anywhere in the body. And what it does, it uses the heat from the body to transform from liquid to solid to accelerate the natural healing pathway of the body, because body takes it as a part of its own, liking it, and therefore it can support the regeneration. What we can do, which is essentially very much aligned with the previous speaker's theme, we can provide solutions for more practitioners and physicians to treat more patients outside that sort of like a typical hospital setting. So healthcare can be more accessible, can be cheaper, and can be faster. We have done this for oral surgeries, and currently we are working for better mRNA delivery systems, as well as the spinal surgical applications.
Fantastic. Thanks, Holly. Sylvia.
Hello, I'm Sylvia, the co-founder and the CEO of OmniWell. OmniWell means growing organs in mini-well, which is our technology, our product. So, because cancer is in 2020, the cancer cases will be 20 million, and 9.7 people die from cancer, which means 1 in 3 or 1 in 5 people will develop cancer during their life. Once we diagnose cancer, what should we do? We're trying to find the best cure. So we grow in patients' tissues outside the human body and do the drug testing for different type of anti-cancer drug and deliver this treatment outcome within 2 weeks. This is our goal. We want to save patients' life, and because patients have no time to wait 3 to 9 months to know, yes, this one is effective, this one is not effective, and patient died. So that's our goal. And our product name is BioTwin. Actually, the product inventor is my twin sister. So the product name is someone say, oh, you are twins. And then you develop BioTwins chips to cure cancer. So yeah, that's how we do our mission.
Fantastic. So I guess one of the topics I'd love to touch on first is accessibility in healthcare. Ali, how are you thinking about that at Tetratherix, and what are you seeing in the industry at the moment?
Absolutely. It's very interesting because it's very much aligned with the themes of previous speakers. I think like one thing that we learned out of COVID, I think Sally Ann was mentioning, let's keep remembering what we learned from COVID. We know with our interactions firsthand with Gates Foundations, still there is a problem. There's a $3 billion worth of vaccines is wasted every year, and this wastage is very much significant for developing countries, for Africa, for Asia. So when we are thinking about these innovations, it's perfect to think about that low-cost solutions that we can provide, to be able to make all these technologies more accessible. Yes, obviously it's brilliant, it's a perfect idea to make this 3D printing that we can essentially print an organ on a chip and essentially implant it. But is it really seriously some things that we need to focus on when there is all these significant problems in terms of like accessibility of the healthcare out there or not. Like, for example, Shan's approach with decentralizing the access to the oxygens is another best examples of solutions that can be very much accessible for a wider range of patients.
Yeah, like we're seeing quite a lot of it's quite interesting with technology at this moment in time. I feel like we're all at a very big inflection point. We start talking about machine learning, AI in itself, and more than ever, technology is now making things even more accessible. And whether or not we in Australia, whether we embrace that, and this also comes down to, and one of the big things that I really want to focus on is like, guys, like, come on, we're in Australia, for God's sakes. Like, our clinical trials are one of the best in the world. Why are we not commercializing a lot of these technologies coming out of the universities or coming out of industries in itself? We can compete, if not be one of the top games in the business in itself.
Shan, why do you think we're not commercializing these opportunities more successfully?
So my background, right, and I can only speak from my own background. I'm an actual industrial designer by trade. I never actually thought I'd actually start a company, to be fair. It was my co-founder, Nat. She's the one with the blue hair with the camera right now and saying hi. She was the one that convinced me to do it. She's from that business end. And for us, it's been a learning experience. Mm-hmm. And we were never taught a lot of this stuff going through university. You don't know what you don't know until you go through it. What we have learned so far, and what we had hoped that the universities had taught us this, is something called inflection points. And inflection points as in, where are you? What is that process moving forward? It would have made our journey much more easier and understanding that. And in a way, I kind of had hoped, and I wish that there is more of that knowledge that it gets shared across in industry in itself. Now, what is that knowledge? Whether it's from a financial side, so how does inflection points match up with your financial modeling, or even just the idea of how do you go from the very beginning to how you get to the very end, and industry also sharing some of those failures as well. Failure shouldn't be shamed. Failure is an opportunity. It's a learning experience. The only way you can learn is through failure itself. And it's giving your own team that ability to fail so that they are able to kind of grow off that. Again, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Well, let's riff on that particular point, because failure is one of those kind of vexed topics that we touch on a little bit always in startups and in the innovation space. But I think particularly in medicine, how do you fail in a system that really doesn't tolerate failure? Because if failure happens, people die.
That's a good question. And really, so what we've done is we've put a firewall. It's probably the best way, right? You know the rules. You know where the limits are. The regulatory authority's there not to stop you from innovating. They want you to innovate, right? And it's having those guidelines that are there to actually be able to understand where your boundaries are for you to kind of go within. That's the best way forward. I don't know if you
Sylvia,
guys want to...
do you have a
I will
view?
talk about the accessibility, excuse me, for new cancer drug for patient. Sorry. So for most of the cancer treatment, it's like one size fits all. So we will follow the conventional pathway to treat the cancer. But for some patient, because for them, they use the existing drug. They're using the existing anti-cancer drug, and they don't know if it is effective. But for some new pharmaceutical company, they have to go through several, clinical trial. But if we can have the accessibility for patient to have test this in vitro outside of human body for individual patient to receive the personalized treatment, that will be fantastic, because we can save the time to save patients' life. So, but most of the patients, they couldn't access this type of new drug because we have to go through different kind of procedure and clinical trial that will stop the time or develop or discover the new drug.
Can I just add some things, because we just Ron passed through it, I think it's very important to talk about. Because you were mentioning about these sort of milestones, and one of the speakers mentions the value of death as a sort of a clinical trial. So, I essentially founded the company 2015, and we completed 2 clinical trials, and the third one is ongoing. So when we're talking about value of death, yeah, that is a value of death. Like getting to the essentially funding the business through the sort of clinical trial phase, it is very difficult and it's very hard. And one things that we are recently got to know, and that was with our interactions with Mayo Clinic in the US, is the models that they have, which essentially they incorporate university clinicians, technologies, entrepreneurs, businesses, and investors. So how this system works, and one of the speakers in the morning was, let's learn from this, from the bits and pieces that are actually working. I think this is some things that we can learn from that model. So the investors fund the clinical trials. Can be run, can be essentially sponsored per se, quote unquote, with a technology that's been developed outside the Mayo Clinic. But the clinicians, the students, they got access to that new developments to run the clinical trials. And then the Mayo Clinic at the end will be the essentially user for that technology. So what this model provides a proper investment, not to the universities just for the sake of publishing paper, to the clinicians and the research institute to do the proper clinical trials, provides a theme, provides a methodology for the companies like us to get through that valley of death, and provides this opportunity for educators and researchers to do proper clinical trials, and essentially investors got their return with their investing on that sort of like a technology. So I think this is some things that we are definitely missing in Australia, and if we are talking about trying to make Australia the place for clinical trials and essentially supporting the ecosystem in a more effective way, I think this is something that we can learn from the US, from the Americans, and that was the part that I really wanted to emphasize. And obviously, talking about failures, one thing that I learned, the ecosystem is very limited, especially when we're talking about medtech, deep tech, and reaching out as a sort of like as a founders to the other founders and share these sort of like these stories, I think will help everyone included. So please feel free to reach out to anyone that have done this before or is trying to or pretending to do this in this process.
Shen?
Can I just also add, reason why medtech, deep tech is actually hard is because the inflection points are very clear. If you know those milestones and those kind of step-by-steps that you have to do, you know exactly what you're funding it for to kind of get to that milestones and that valuation and that next steps to get to that next steps to get it onto market itself. Whereas for other companies that are out there that are outside of that, that inflection point isn't so clear. With medtech, you have to get it validated. You got no choice. But that's great because it is a bit of I think it's awesome because that means you're proving what you're saying. If you're not just making claims just out of the blue, out of the whim, it's true. It's information, it's data. The data will speak for itself, if anything.
But just to, I guess, build on both of those comments. So medtech is, like you said, paint by numbers almost in a way, because you do absolutely know what you need to hit in order to get something to the market. And in many ways, that is somewhat of a de-risking of that process. But Ali, you were saying we need a Mayo Clinic type strategy, but we have universities that are aligned with hospitals where we can do clinical trials. So why is it that you think, like, it might be more decentralized in Australia than it is in the US, but why is it, do you think, and Sylvia, feel free to weigh in as well.
I want to echo that.
Yeah, where are we falling down, do you think? Where is the big gap?
I think the challenge will be for us, currently we already develop different type of organ model, but for us it's very difficult to access patient tissues. So if there's a Mayo Clinic in Australia, so they have patients, they have tissues, we can quickly establish different kind of disease model. So we can speed up the treatment strategy or develop a new drug. So we we can be the fast-growing medtech or pharmaceutical company, it will be possible. But just we don't have the platform. We only can access very limited human tissues or clinical trial. So that's the challenge I think currently we face right now.
And
Sorry,
Lane. So and look at because you mentioned the university model. In the university model, the two pieces of this puzzle is missing, the beginning part and the end part. So the end part, which is essentially end user buy-in, it's missing because university is not going to buy that technology in. And then the beginning part is essentially universities are only keen either for their own grants. I know there's some universities here, please don't hate me or don't hate me more. They want to develop, they want to focus on their own technology. I'm sorry to say it again, they are publication oriented. So then what you have this middle part of the equation without having the two end of it, which is essentially buy-in from the outside of the actual university staff as well as the end point. So back to what you were saying, that it is not only because we are more centralized. I think the whole problem is deeper than that, and it does require a little bit of a cultural shift in our mindset and the way that we think about it.
So on that point of cultural shift, we've talked a lot about process, about lack of funding, where there might be gaps. How much do we put the patient experience at the centre of how we deliver healthcare? And does that cultural shift need to happen?
That's number one.
It's number one.
That's customer is king. Number one. Number two is your patients. I don't know, I speak for myself, we all went into this because we fundamentally believe that we can do better. And that what's already there, that's out there, it's just not good enough. And that we can do it with the technology that we can build with our own two hands. Yeah. I mean, I went into this because my thesis projects, my original university thesis project, I saw someone shackled to an oxygen cylinder. And I thought that was not good enough. Me as an industrial designer, the skills that I got taught going to university, why can't we do something about it? I will figure out how to get the money. I will get there and we will change it. We'll change that thought, that mindset in itself. But why did you guys get into it in the first place? I'm curious.
So one of my senior high school classmates, he got the liver cancer and passed away within 6 months. And at that time, we're just developing our product. And we want to have this go to the market and say, if there's a quicker treatment, maybe we can save his life. But now he's gone. So it's more like we want to go to the market as soon as possible.
Yeah, and you know, talking about patients is very interesting because when I was seeing Sylvia's technology, I know at first hand that lots of these chemotherapy therapeutics that are designed for cancer patients are based on the clinical trials that have been conducted over years with a very limited ethnicity backgrounds. I know that there are some FDA guidelines that it's mandates what should be this percent of white, this percent of Asians, and so on and so forth. So having technologies like this and having patients' mentality in mind, I think that can bring these two pieces of the puzzle together to provide that more equal opportunity, let's say it, for the health. Back to what we started the whole conversation as a sort of a circular elements by having patients in mind.
You mentioned customer is king in answer to is patient experience at the centre, but often the patient isn't the customer.
That's true.
Patient is the end beneficiary, but not really the customer. So are new technologies helping to really make the patient the centre of a paradigm shift? Personalised medicine, I'm thinking, or do you guys see any technologically driven shifts in how the patient sits in that dynamic?
I think there's a lot more shifts from hospital to home, that's number one, and more personalized medicine. Personalized medicine as in data. We want to be more empowered. We want to see, we want to know. The internet is incredibly available. Unfortunately, Dr. Google seems to be the one that everybody likes to do. But in saying so, personalized medicine is one of the big ones, and that is a huge shift. And I was actually, funny enough, over in the UK earlier this year, and I got a chance to go see some of the technologies that was happening around the NHS system, and that's a great system to learn off as well. And what they were trying to do, because their system is overwhelmed, right? And they're trying to
Same as
take...
ours.
Yeah, they're trying to bring patients out of the hospital into the home, and what they could employ in terms of technologies that could be employed at home, so that it gave carers, it gave nurses, it gave doctors more ability, more time to actually focus on the right thing at the end.
We got 2.5 minutes left. What would you like to leave this audience with in terms of perhaps one way in which they should think about this mindset shift that we would like to bring to medicine? It might be a prediction, it might be a call to action. If you could spend 30 seconds articulating that, what would it be?
Can I go? Okay, so 30 seconds. I really want to focus on, I know that I'm coming back to that access to the health system, but I really want to focus on the fact that us as entrepreneurs, as a founders, as a people that thinking about technology, let's think about where we are situated geographically in the term of the world. We are a developed country, very close to developing countries. If having the mindset of both developing technologies that can work for both developed and developing countries, I think that is the way that we can essentially have a better human access, better patient outcome, and better commercial outcome at the end of the day.
Thank you. Shan?
I think it's more around sharing knowledge sharing across industries. You can apply quite a lot of the knowledge from SaaS-based companies right across into the medtech side of it. I think there's a lot of nice kind of things that you already know, but you can kind of twist it, work it within, massage it within the medtech world in itself. But it's all possible, I'd say this. Like, medtech is definitely possible.
So for me, it's like a collaboration and integration of all sort of novel technology. For example, precision medicine, organ on a chip, and also integrate with AI diagnostic tools, image analysis, and so on. So everything integrated will build a faster predicting power of cure cancer. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'd like everyone to join me in thanking our panelists today. What they're building is really spectacular, and we wish you all the best, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.